Okay, hi guys. Right, today we're doing the second lesson. We are going to do the glossary for the Vikings. So hopefully this will be a nice quick lesson for you because I understand how difficult it is to be working at home. So again, you're going to go to your name in the OneNote. Okay, obviously if you're in 8E, you go into 8E. Number two, Viking glossary. Okay, if you don't do this normally in lessons, I highly recommend once you're in it, click on this over here so that you can have the whole screen. Okay, so today we are going to know keywords related to the Vikings, and then you're going to have a go using some of those words to write a paragraph to show that you've understood them. So, we've done glossaries before. I've already actually written in the terms for you, so all you're going to have to do is write down the definition. Okay, and if you like, stick in an image. Go find one yourself. Don't just copy mine. That might have boring. Okay, so I've said open the PowerPoint, but I know sometimes people can't do that, so there is a PDF version for you as well. Okay, so let's talk about these key terms, and you can type them as I go. Okay, so Viking glossary, just to make you aware, we will be learning more words as we go. So this definitely isn't the be all and end all, but this is just some overview words for you. Okay, so first word is Norse. Okay, so this word relates to the people who lived in Scandinavia in ancient or medieval times. So basically, the Vikings are sometimes called the Norsemen. Um, and in sources, okay, and you might call them the Norse, okay, so um, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and Iceland as well, okay. This term Scandinavia is going to come up a lot. That basically covers these countries here, okay, so these are the countries we're going to be focusing on quite a lot because this is where the Vikings came from, okay. Second word is indeed Viking. So Viking was a Scandinavian person, so somebody from those countries who traveled by sea to trade with people, so buy and sell things, to raid them and raid and pillage parts of Europe between the 8th and the 11th centuries. A reminder from Year 7 history. Okay, that means that the 700s to the 1000s, sorry. Okay, or the 1000s. Okay, so you can add that if you need reminding. We are going to use the term Viking to refer to the people from Norway and Sweden and Denmark during this time. But actually, to be historically accurate, Vikings were the people that actually left, the ones that sailed and went on these raids. So the people that actually stayed, technically not Vikings, but we'll use that term for those people as well because lots of people do. Okay, a berserker. Okay, so those were Norse warriors who fought with wild and uncontrollable ferocity. We will look at them one lesson. Here is an image of a berserker, and the word berserk comes from these people. Berserker literally means bear coat. And you can see them, especially this guy here, wearing a bear and almost embodying the spirit of the bear as he's fighting. Okay, pagan. Okay, this is an important word to understand. Oh, so a pagan is basically a person who has religious beliefs other than those of the main world religions like Christianity and Islam, Hinduism. Okay, the Vikings did not believe in Christianity; they were seen as pagans. Okay, they were also polytheistic, meaning that they worshipped many gods. Poly meaning many, theistic, sorry, gods. So if you wanted to compare that, Christianity is monotheistic because they believe in just one god. Towards the end of the Viking period, they do actually mainly become Christian. But yeah, we'll be interested in their pagan religion and we'll look at some of their gods that you can see over here. Okay, so raids, so that's mentioned already. They went on raid. So a raid is a rapid surprise attack on an enemy by troops. So raids could be used to conquer people or to capture goods. So Vikings, the Viking Age started with a raid on Lindisfarne, a small island in England. And we'll look at why they went on these raids and the impact of those raids. Okay, linked to that is that word pillage, raid and pillage. That's to rob people in a place or a building and using violence to do so. Okay, so raiding and pillaging, if you ask the average person on the street to think of what a Viking is, that's probably the kind of image that they might bring up. As we'll see, though, they're a little bit more complicated than that. Okay, so a DRAKKAR or DRAKKAR. Okay, that's a Viking longship used for trading and for raiding. So these ships were decorated with images from Viking mythology, like dragons here, for example. Okay, so we'll look at the importance of ships to the Vikings throughout the term. There's also a Nar. Okay, so a Nar was a cargo ship that's used for long sea voyages. So they were wider and deeper and shorter than the DRAKKARs. Those are just two types of Viking boats. There was lots and lots of them. Those are the two main ones that we'll be concerned about. Okay, Godi or a Godi is a Norse term for a priest and a chieftain, so kind of a local leader, sometimes spelled Guffy. Okay, so would lead some kind of pagan ceremonies. Okay, Danelaw. This one will come up later in the term. It refers to a part of England that was ruled by Danish Vikings in the 9th and 10th centuries. In this map, so all of this pink area of what is now England was ruled by Danish Vikings under the Dane law. Okay, so we'll come across that term a lot more in a few more weeks. Runes. So the runes are letters in the ancient Norse and Germanic alphabet. These letters closely corresponded with the Roman alphabet. So this is basically the written language of the Vikings. However, okay, the Vikings didn't really write much down. Okay, most of the knowledge that we have about them comes from archaeology and from stories that were written down a couple of hundred years after the Viking Age ended. Runes were not really used like every day. Okay, they would maybe be used when trading goods and perhaps on a warrior or a chief's kind of tombstone. But it certainly wasn't like children were going to school and learning to write runes. Okay. Valhalla, again, we will look at this in more detail, but Valhalla was basically heaven for the Vikings. It was a great hall in Norse mythology and their myths and their legends, where warriors who were killed in battle went in the afterlife. Okay, so you may have heard of that word, Valhalla. And again, we'll look at that in more detail. Okay, just be careful with the spelling there, two L's. Okay, again, linked to Viking religion, an amulet. Okay, that was a charm worn to ward off evil. Quite often it would be in the shape of a hammer, like this one, because of the god Thor and his hammer. Okay, so lots of them have been found in archaeological sites that would have been worn by all types of Vikings. Okay, saga. So these were stories told about ancient Nordic history, voyages, and battles. And I mentioned already that a lot of knowledge that we have of Vikings comes from archaeology. A lot more comes from these sagas. Many of the sagas were written a couple of hundred years after the Viking Age in Iceland. So, especially when we look at the voyage to America, okay, we know about that voyage through these sagas, and we'll have conversations about, well, how historically accurate are they? But yeah, they're very famous stories of them. And the last one, maybe my favorite one, is Thing. Okay, so the Thing, okay, is basically where all three people in a Viking community would gather probably once a year, maybe twice a year, okay, to make law and to decide cases in a meeting. Okay, so as you can see, there would be, and again, we'll look at this in more detail, there'd be somebody in charge of the thing, but basically, if you had a dispute with a neighbor, for example, you would take that dispute to the thing, Here are all the local free people. Okay, and you would hear both sides, and you the guy in charge of the thing would say, you know, basically what should happen. So if there was a crime, okay, you would go on trial, as it were, at the thing. Okay, this is a very early form of democracy. Okay, although it is a little bit more complicated than that, as we will find out. Iceland's parliament is called the Althing, and it's actually the oldest parliament in the world. It's over 1,000 years old. Okay, so there's your introduction. Okay, so you just need to make sure that you get those down. Obviously, you can use the images from here if you want, but find your own if you want as well. Okay, once you've done that, okay, you need to write a paragraph explaining your understanding about what we're going to be learning about in the upcoming topic of Vikings. And I want you to try and use as many words from the glossary as possible. Okay, so you might focus on what your understanding is of Viking religion just from these words, or Viking raids might be a good one to focus on, or Viking society. Okay, so see what you can do. It's not a teal paragraph. Okay, obviously you want your sentences to make sense, but the idea is that you're just showing your understanding of, let's aim for at least 4 words if you can. Okay, all right, last thing to do after you've done that glossary is just to really get us thinking about the Vikings. Okay, this is see, think, wonder. So giving you an image here. Obviously, it's a modern image from a textbook, actually. Okay, of Viking raiders sacking the monastery. So sacking is to rob, really, on the holy island of Lindisfarne. Okay, which happened in 793 CE. Okay, so all I want you to do here is just, this is really getting your brain into Viking gear. Okay, what can you see in the image? So literally jot down what's happening, what you think is happening. Okay, try and pick out as many details as you can. You can bullet point it. You don't need to write full sentences. Okay, what do you think about this image? So what do you think is happening? What do you think about the Vikings based on this image? Last but not least, what does this image make you wonder about the Vikings? I would hope that this image would lead you to have more questions about the Vikings. Okay, so see if you can come up with at least 2 questions here. Okay, so again, no right or wrong answers, just give it a go. All right, as always, if any questions, ask in the Zoom, and then next lesson, whether we're at home or in lesson, we will do a learning map. So if we're at home, hopefully you've got some paper and some nice coloured pencils on hand, and I'll go over with you what we're going to be doing. All right, okay, guys, bye.